Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Saudi Arabia, Adesanya versus Imavov full card picks and betting breakdown. And let's go ahead and jump right into it with the first bout of the night being Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Jamal Pogues. And in this one, I'm going with Hamdy Abdelwahab, even though he hasn't fought in 2.5 years. And the reason being that he hasn't fought in 2.5 years is due to PED usage. He actually got caught and got banned, then came back to a new agency for the UFC and got banned again due to PED usage. So he has been caught multiple times with PEDs, and I am still going to pick him here. His last fight was a no contest against Don'Tale Mayes, as you guys can see here, in which he looked good. He had moments striking-wise, he had moments grappling-wise. He's a very well-rounded fighter, to be completely honest. And in those 2.5 years, I don't think he's just sitting on his couch eating potato chips. No, I think that he's going to work, he's improving on his striking, he's improving on his grappling abilities, and I think that he's going to come in here and dominate against Jamal Pogues. I think Jamal Pogues is kind of a decent, kind of mediocre fighter. I mean, he got controlled on the ground by Thomas, and Thomas is a boxer. In his last fight against Thomas Petersen, he's a boxer but got completely controlled on the ground by him. It makes no sense. And Jamal Pogues, though, has good striking and has heavy hands and has that long, stiff jab. He kind of throws looping shots at times and gets a little bit chaotic and wild. He does have all right grappling to throw it back on and all right takedown defense, but take that with a grain of salt. His grappling really isn't the best. As I said previously, he got controlled by a boxer on the ground. So his grappling really isn't that much. And on the other side, we have Hamdy, who has, like I said, was a well-rounded fighter with really good striking. He's got knockout power. He mixes up his shots with his takedowns really well. He's got nasty hooks. He's got solid grappling to throw it back on if he has any trouble in the striking department against Jamal Pogues. Even though I don't see him having any trouble, he will have that to throw it back on. If he gets you down on the ground, he maintains control of you. I think here in this fight, Hamdy has the grappling advantage. I do worry a little bit about his cardio, but I still think that he's going to get it done here. I think Hamdy will do really well in mixing in his striking and his grappling, mixing them in together and finding the takedowns on Jamal Pogues, gathering that control time and getting the better of Jamal Pogues. Yes, Jamal Pogues has a slight height and reach advantage over Hamdy, but I think that his pressure wrestling is going to do him wonders. I think that he's going to put on a pace and pressure that Jamal Pogues can't handle, and I think that we could see him use some of that grappling and take down Jamal Pogues and land some nice ground and pound on him. Give me Hamdy Abdelwahab over Jamal Pogues. And let's look at the odds here on this fight, in which we have Hamdy sitting at a -110, Jamal Pogues sitting at a -110. Literally even odds. A coin flip fight here, in which I have Hamdy Abdelwahab over Jamal Pogues. Over 1.5 sitting at a -435. Over 2.5 sitting at a -245 to -250 range. I like the overs in this fight. I think Hamdy gets the better of Jamal Pogues, and I think it's via decision. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight on this card in Bogdan Grad versus Lucas Alexander. And I like this fight. I think this is a very interesting matchup. You have Bogdan Grad, who's coming off of a win over Michael Aswell Jr. in a split decision, and a win over Batista in submission over in Cage Fight series. And he looked good. He did get knocked out by Tom Nolan in his first Contender Series appearance. I will say that. And it was viciously. But other than that, he has been looking great on the feet. He's got quick hands. He mixes up his shots really well to the head and to the body. He's got snappy high and low kicks. He's a great grappler as well. So if he has any trouble on the feet, he can throw it back on that grappling ability of his. He's got strong takedowns. He's got tricky submissions. He's got quick transitions. And he's very explosive. I like Bogdan Grad. That is why I'm picking him over Lucas Alexander. Lucas Alexander, on the other side, coming off of a knockout loss to Jaka Sadegi and a win over Steven Petersen, where he absolutely dominated him on the feet. He looked phenomenal. And I will say, that Lucas Alexander does have good striking. He's got the long, stiff jab. He likes to strike from the outside. He's got snappy high and low kicks as well. And he's got decent grappling to throw it back on with decent takedown defense. So that is where I think that Bogdan Grad is going to have the advantage, is the grappling. I think that grappling-wise, he's a better grappler. I think striking-wise, it's going to be fairly close because Alexander has the reach, but Bogdan is really good at entering and exiting the pocket quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see if Lucas Alexander can kind of maintain that distance, keep Bogdan Grad on the outside, not let him mix in his takedowns with his striking as well, and let him get him down to the ground where he has the advantage. I don't know, man. I think Bogdan Grad is going to be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease. I think he's going to be able to land takedowns on Lucas Alexander. I think he's going to be able to garner control time. I think he has the speed and explosive advantage here over Lucas Alexander, to be completely honest. I get that Lucas has a long frame and long reach, but I think Bogdan Grad is going to be quicker than him, and he's going to use his grappling to his advantage. So give me Bogdan Grad to beat Lucas Alexander. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Bogdan Grad sitting at a plus 103, Lucas Alexander sitting at a negative 123. So a lot of money coming in on the Alexander side, and I can see why, but I like Bogdan Grad. I get that he's relatively unproven. He came in, lost his first contender series to Tom Nolan in brutal fashion, but then came back. He fought back. He worked on his striking, worked on his grappling, and I think he looked good. I think that he could put on a showcase here against Lucas Alexander, who has been having some tough fights, has been going up against tough opponents, but I think he's going up against another tough opponent in Bogdan Grad, which is going to be too much for him. Give me Bogdan Grad over Lucas Alexander, and I like the overs in this fight as well. I think over 1.5 is negative 205, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 125. I like the overs, and give me Bogdan Grad to beat Lucas Alexander via decision. Or I could even see a submission, but I think the most likely outcome is going to be decision. And let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight, and which is a very, very good women's fight in Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Mayra Bueno Silva. I love this matchup right here. I think this is going to be one of the most interesting chick fights that I've seen in a while, to be completely honest with you. You have Jasmine Jasudavicius, who is a absolute brawler. She likes to strike, she likes to grapple, she likes to be up in your face, put that pressure on you, put a pace that you really can't keep up with, which is why I am going with Jasmine Jasudavicius. I think that Jasudavicius is going to beat Mayra Bueno Silva. Now, the reason I am saying that is because she has been looking phenomenal as of lately, coming off of the submission win over Ariana da Silva and the win over Fatima Klein. Yes, Fatima Klein did take it on short notice. Yes, I get that. But she still looked good in that fight. Then the win over Priscilla Cachoeira, where she looked good as well. Got the submission over her. Now she's going up against Mayra Bueno Silva, who is coming down in weight and coming in at 125 instead of 135. I think that Jasmine Jasudavicius is going to have the grappling advantage, even though that's crazy to say. I think that she's still going to have the grappling advantage over Mayra Bueno Silva. I think it's going to be still close, a lot closer than other fights, but I still think that she has the advantage. I think striking-wise, she's a little bit quicker on the feet than her and can slip very well and move and slither very well. So that is why I'm going with Jasudavicius. I think that she also does really well with her hands. She's got quick hands. She is very good at mixing it up to the head and to the body. I think that she uses her jab very well to maintain that distance. She's got good kicks from the outside. I think Jasmine Jasudavicius has everything to win this, but also Mayra Bueno has a way of winning this too. Because if Mayra Bueno can snub the takedowns of Jasudavicius, then it's a whole other ball game. Now it's striking wars, and now it's where Mayra Bueno possibly wants to be. Because Mayra Bueno definitely has some good striking. She mixes it up really well. She's very quick on the feet. She's got speedy, quick hands. She's got quick and clean combinations. And she's got kicks. and she's got grappling to fall back on as well. These are both two well-rounded fighters in terms of striking, in terms of grappling, so it's going to be interesting to see how they clash. If Jasudavicius can get Mayra Bueno down to the ground, I believe that she's going to win this, which is why I'm picking her, because I think that she will be able to get Mayra Bueno back down to the ground. Now she obviously has to worry about Mayra Bueno trying to lock up submissions because she's got trickier jiu-jitsu game than Jasmine Jasudavicius does. So there's a lot of interesting factors in which I could see it going either way, to be completely honest, but I am going with Jasmine Jasudavicius. I think that she's going to put on a pace to where Mayra Bueno is going to start to get tired, start to get overwhelmed, and you're going to see Jasmine Jasudavicius take over and start beating the crap out of Mayra Bueno Silva. I could also see a world where Silva starts trying to pull guard because she's getting beat the crap out of by Jasmine Jasudavicius. So I'm going with Jasudavicius over Mayra Bueno Silva. I do think that it could be a very close fight, and I think it will be a close fight, but I think it's Jasmine Jasudavicius getting the better of Bueno Silva. And let's look at the odds here, in which Mayra Bueno Silva sitting at a plus 200, Jasmine Jasudavicius sitting at a negative 235. I honestly think these odds are a little bit wide, to be completely honest. I think that it's going to be a very close fought battle, and I think it's going to be Jasmine Jasudavicius getting the better of Mayra Bueno Silva because of the pace and relentless pressure she puts on her opponents. I think it's going to be the reason why Jasudavicius gets the victory. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 700, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 345. I think it definitely goes over, and I think it's Jasudavicius walking away with the decision win over Mayra Bueno Silva. And let's move along to the next bout on this card in Terrance McKinney versus Damir Hadzovic. And in this one, I am going with Terrance McKinney. Take that with a grain of salt, and there's a reason why I made that. It's because Terrance McKinney can sometimes get a little bit too overzealous and just very inconsistent is what I'm really trying to say. He's very inconsistent in his fighting. He's very good at times, then he's very bad at times, then he looks very like a top 10 fighter at times, and he looks like a trash can unranked fighter at times. So that is one of the reasons why I am a little bit hesitant taking Terrance McKinney over Damir. Terrance is coming off of a violent loss via head kick to Esteban Ribovics, in which it was brutal. And then he had the win over Brendan Marotte, where Brendan Marotte is mediocre. He's not even a good fighter, to be completely honest. Then Mike Breeden, which not bad. Then the loss to Nazim Saidakov, which Saidakov is an absolute savage and an upcoming prospect that's on the rise. Then you have Ismail Bofim, another great, highly skilled fighter. So take those with a grain of salt. I think Terrance McKinney, like I said, is very inconsistent. At times is very good. At times is very awful. So I personally am not going to touch this with the betting side, but Terrance McKinney is my pick. He's got good striking. He's got the knockout power. He's got quick hands. He's very explosive. He's also got good grappling to fall back on if he has any trouble with the striking department. He's got strong takedowns. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. He will not let you up. He's got solid takedown defense. He also has very tricky submissions when he gets you down on the ground and gets your back. The only problem with him is the inconsistencies, like I said, and the cardio. I am very worrisome about his cardio and his chin. He's gotten knocked out multiple times. His cardio hasn't been looking the greatest in the later of the fights. In the second, third round, he looks very dead, very slow, and just the other opponents just start to take over, to be completely honest. So, in my opinion, as this fight goes on, it's going to favor Damir, but I think Terrance McKinney will show that he can fight, and he will prove that he does have a cardio. He's been working on it, and I think he's going to get the better of Damir. Damir hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He is coming off of the loss to Mark Dikis, which was 2.5 years ago. Insane. That's a while. He obviously has probably been working on his striking, been working on his grappling, hopefully been working on his striking, because his striking really isn't the best. He has decent striking with a quick, stiff jab. He looks awkward and clunky at times on the feet. He's just a slow fighter, to be completely honest. The speed and explosiveness has to go to Terrance McKinney. I think he's going to be a lot quicker. I think that he's going to be able to land takedowns, because I think Damir has a relatively all right grappling defense game, to be completely honest. So I think Terrance McKinney will be able to get him down to the ground, will be able to garner control time, will be able to advance positions, and will be able to possibly lock up a submission. Give me Terrance McKinney to beat Damir Hadzovic. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on this, in which Terrance McKinney sitting at a negative 470. Damir Hadzovic sitting at a plus 370. I like Terrance McKinney. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, very inconsistent. Over 1.5 sitting at a plus 190. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 375. I think that we could see Terrance McKinney lock up a submission on Damir Hadzovic. I think he has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I think that striking-wise, it's a little bit closer. And I just think that Terrance McKinney's better. It's just a matter of which Terrance McKinney is showing up. Is it the good top 10 ranked one, or is it the trash can unranked one? We don't know. We're going to have to see. Give me Terrance McKinney to beat Damir Hadzovic, and we could possibly see him get a submission. But I think it goes to the distance, and I think it's Terrance McKinney locking up the submission, to be completely honest. I think most likely outcome, Terrance McKinney locking up that submission after landing some nice straights down the pipe. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this card in Shamil Gaziev versus Thomas Petersen. And in this one, I am going with Shamil Gaziev over Thomas Petersen. Shamil is coming off of the win over Don'Tale Mayes, where he looked absolutely phenomenal in there. Striking, grappling-wise, he looked absolutely great. He's got good striking with knockout power, devastating knockout power. He's got quick inside boxing. He's got good grappling to go along with that great striking and inside boxing. He's got solid takedown defense. He's got strong takedowns. I like Shamil Gaziev in this fight. I think that he's got the striking and speed advantage over Thomas Petersen. I think grappling-wise, it's going to be interesting to see how well Thomas Petersen can defend the takedowns of Shamil Gaziev, because Thomas Petersen does have good wrestling, and that's mainly where he shines, to be completely honest. In the striking department, he kind of lacks. He isn't the greatest striker. He has knockout power like every other heavyweight, but he gets awkward and clunky at times and throws these looping shots and just leaves himself wide open to getting countered, in which Shamil Gaziev can definitely counter him. I believe that Shamil Gaziev can counter him and knock him out. I think that Shamil Gaziev is slept on a little bit. He is a very good heavyweight, in which he is going up against somebody who just isn't up to par with his skills. Thomas Petersen, this is a huge step up for you. And I just think it's going to be too much, in which Shamil Gaziev is going to be able to outstrike you. He has the striking advantage, he has the speed advantage, and I think he has the power advantage over Thomas Petersen. Give me Shamil Gaziev over Thomas Petersen, and I think it's going to be in brutal fashion the way this ends. And let's look at the odds here, in which Shamil Gaziev sitting at a negative 330, Thomas Petersen sitting at a plus 270. Shamil Gaziev, I like him. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 150. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 130. I like the overs, but I also like the unders. I think Gaziev gets the knockout. I'm going to go Gaziev by knockout at plus 120. I think he gets rid of Thomas Petersen. I think Thomas Petersen just doesn't have the skills that Shamil Gaziev has, and this is a huge step up in competition to where it's going to be too much for Thomas Petersen, and he's going to get brutally knocked out by Shamil Gaziev. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this card, in which is the main card opener in Muhammad Naimov versus Kaan Ofli. And I love this battle. This is another good battle in which I am going with Muhammad Naimov. I think this is an easy choice, to be completely honest. I think Muhammad Naimov is a very, very well-rounded fighter in terms of striking, in terms of grappling. He's a very explosive striker with great striking, in the sense that he mixes it up to the head and to the body really well. He's got good high and low kicks. He's got devastating knockout power. I think Muhammad Naimov is insane. I mean, he's got good grappling as well. He's got strong takedowns. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. He's got tricky submissions. He's got quick transitions. I think Muhammad Naimov is a check all the boxes type of fighter in terms of every aspect of the fight game. And then you have Kaan Ofli, who is coming off of the knockout loss to Maron Santos, which was a brutal left hook to knock him down. And then the win over Jarrett Wilbram over in Hex. And then the win over Ernie. If you really look at it, the competition just hasn't been there for Kaan Ofli. He really hasn't been up against the best of the competition. And when he did go up against good competition, he got starched. And now he's going up against somebody even better than Maron Santos, in my opinion, and Muhammad Naimov. Look at Muhammad Naimov. Lost to Felipe Lima. Absolute dog. Absolute savage in the fight game. He has a win over Eric Silva. Decent win. A win over Nathaniel Wood. That could have gone either way, but still, impressive win. Then the win over Jamie Malarkey. Great win. The win over Dylan Schultz. He has a lot of impressive wins over some really good competitive fighters. Whereas you have Kaan Ofli, who really hasn't been up against the best. And when he was up against people that were decent, he got knocked out. He got starched. I just don't think that this is going to go any differently, to be completely honest. I think Muhammad Naimov is going to absolutely run through Kaan Ofli. I think he's a lot better of a striker. I think grappling-wise, he's a lot better of a grappler. I think that Kaan has a little bit better of a chance in the grappling department, but striking-wise, he is completely he's going to get completely outstruck by Muhammad Naimov. That is why I'm going with Muhammad Naimov over Kaan Ofli. And let's go ahead and look at the odds here. Muhammad Naimov sitting at a negative 285. Kaan Ofli sitting at a plus 245. I like Muhammad Naimov. I think he's got the clear-cut striking advantage. I think grappling-wise it's closer, but I still think that he's an all-around better fighter than Kaan Ofli. We have over 1.5 sitting at a negative 325. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 175. I like the overs. I do think that Naimov is live to end this early, but I think that it goes the distance, and I think Kaan Ofli is at least decent enough to survive, in which Naimov gets the win via decision. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this main card in Fares Ziam versus Mike Davis. And in this one, I am going with Mike Davis over Fares Ziam, which I know is going to be a shock. You have Mike Davis, who is coming off of a submission win over Nathan Levy about 10 months ago, so relatively long ago, but not terrible. He's been looking phenomenal. He's been dealing with injuries. That is the reason why he hasn't been fighting as consistently as he should be. 2.5 years ago, he has the win over Borishev via decision, the win over Mason Jones, which he looked phenomenal in, the win over Thomas Gifford before that via knockout. He is a relatively great, well-rounded fighter that just has been battling injuries left and right and has put him just kind of at a hold, to be completely honest. Now he's back. He's been looking good. He has that dominant win over Nathan Levy, getting the submission finish, in which his striking looked phenomenal. He's got good striking. He's got quick, clean combinations. He's got knockout power. It mixes up his shots really well to the head and to the body. He's got strong grappling to throw it back on if he has any trouble in the striking department against somebody like Fares Ziam. And he's got fast takedowns. He's got tricky submissions. He knows how to maintain control of you when he gets you down, so you definitely don't want to be under Mike Davis. I believe here he's going to have the grappling advantage and the strength advantage. I think he's going to be stronger than Fares Ziam. Though I will say something about Fares Ziam. Fares Ziam is coming off of the knockout to Matt Frevola, where he looked absolutely phenomenal, stopped a lot of Matt Frevola's takedowns, and absolutely outstruck and made Matt Frevola look like his bitch, to be completely honest. And then you have the win over Claudia Puelles, the win over Jai Herbert, and the win over Michael Figlak, and the loss to Terrance McKinney, where he got submitted in the first round. Absolutely dominated in the first round. That is why I'm going with Mike Davis. I think that Fares Ziam has a little bit of a grappling disadvantage in the sense that he does have relatively good takedown defense, but as soon as you get him down to the ground, he struggles at exploding back up to his feet getting back up to his feet in general. He's just not good at getting back up to his feet. He doesn't use his legs to put on the hips of his opponents to create that space to be able to let him explode back up. He just doesn't have those kind of capabilities. So I think Mike Davis, if he can get him down to the ground, it's going to be a big W for him, and it's going to prove that Ziam does not have the greatest grappling skills. And we could see Mike Davis take this to where I believe he has the advantage. Take him down to the ground, pepper him with shots, garner that control time, and beat Ziam in his game, to be completely honest. Ziam has great kickboxing. He's a very great striker, to be completely honest. With knockout power, he's got a long, stiff jab. He likes to strike from the outside. He's got snappy high and low kicks. Where he kind of lacks, like I said, is the grappling. He has all right grappling with decent takedown defense. We saw him snub Matt Fravola's takedowns, but Matt Favola really is kind of a hit or miss. He is very inconsistent. Gets knocked out, gets a knockout, gets knocked out, gets a knockout. So he is not the greatest. Even though that was a great win over Matt Favola, the win over Claudio Poleles, who is a really good grappler. So that is something to note. If Ziam can stop the takedowns of Mike Davis, it's a whole different ball game. I think Ziam could win it if he can stop the takedowns, because then it's straight striking match. And I think Mike Davis is good enough to strike with him. I think that it's a very close striking match, but I think Ziam still has the upper hand in the striking, and I think that that's where Mike Davis definitely doesn't want to be. I am picking Mike Davis to beat Ziam, but I will say if Ziam can stop the takedowns, then I think that Mike Davis is in for a very, very interesting match, in which I still feel like he can fare well in the striking department, but I think that he needs to be able to take him down, and with his relentless pressure, I believe that he will be able to take down Ziam, especially seeing how Terrance McKinney absolutely obliterated him. I think Mike Davis is stronger, faster, and more explosive. Give me Mike Davis. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Mike Davis sitting at a negative 140, Ziam sitting at a plus 120. I like Mike Davis. I think that he has a clear-cut grappling advantage. I think striking-wise, Ziam has the striking advantage, but I think Mike Davis will be able to enter and exit the pocket, be able to mix in his takedowns with his striking, and be able to find success in getting Ziam down to the ground and maintaining control of him. Give me Mike Davis to beat Ziam, over 1.5 sitting at a negative 410. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 220 to negative 225. I like the over, and I like Mike Davis to beat Ziam in a very close back and forth battle. And I like Mike Davis. I really do. I think it hits the cards. And let's go ahead and move along to the next main card fight in Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira. And I am going with the dog in this one. The lock dog in Vinicius Oliveira. I love this matchup right here. This is an amazing matchup between Said Nurmagomedov and Vinicius Oliveira. You have somebody in Said Nurmagomedov who has been on the come up, has been looking absolutely phenomenal. Yes, he has the loss to Jonathan Martinez, but he has been looking absolutely phenomenal in the sense of beating Muayin Gafarov via submission. He has the win over Kamarov via submission, the win over Douglas Silva Dianjaraj via decision, and the win over Cody Stamann, where he submitted him. He has very, very good grappling skills and very good striking skills, but he is going up against a dog in Vinicius Oliveira, in which is coming off of the win over Ricky Simón in dominant fashion, absolutely beat the shit out of Ricky Simón. Then the win over Bernardo Sapaj via flying knee, which was absolutely devastating. You have somebody in Vinicius Oliveira who is a great, great striker with devastating knockout power. He's got very slick striking, very slick head movement. He mixes up his shots really, really well. He's very quick with entering and exiting the pocket. He keeps his hands down low, kind of like Israel Adesanya in a sense. But he's very, very mobile, very good with his head movement. He's a very, very well-rounded fighter. He's got solid grappling, strong takedowns. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. Vincus Oliveira is a very well-rounded fighter, just like Said Nurmagomedov. But the difference is Said Nurmagomedov has a little bit of quit in him. In his fight against Jonathan Martinez, he was getting gassed towards the later ends of the round, the later ends of the fight, and looked kind of defeated at the end of that fight. And I think that is kind of a tell. I think that, yes, Said Nurmagomedov has great striking with quick hands. He has clean counter-striking abilities, I will say that, with good high and low kicks. He's got solid grappling to also fall back on. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. He's got that Dagestan wrestling, even though he's at a different gym than all the other Dagestanis. I think that Said is going to run into somebody that actually might be a little bit too much for him. I think that this is going to be an amazing matchup. I think it's going to be such a good fight between these two. I see a tit-for-tat fight going down in which there's moments from both of these guys, but I just think that Vincus Oliveira is going to be too slick, too good, and too mobile for Said Nurmagomedov on the feet, and he's going to be able to snub Said Nurmagomedov's takedowns. I really do believe that. I think that Vincus Oliveira is a very well-rounded fighter, and I think it's going to be an absolute brawl between these two in which Vincus Oliveira walks away with a close W against Said Nurmagomedov. And let's go ahead and look at the fight odds for this fight. Oh my gosh. In which we have Said Nurmagomedov sitting at a -170. Vincus Oliveira sitting at a +145. I like Vincus Oliveira. I think that he has the skills to beat Said Nurmagomedov. And it's crazy to say. I mean, Nurmagomedovs have been on a run. They have been looking phenomenal. But I think Vincus is just one of those dogs, man. He's got such good striking. He's so slick and fluid with his striking. And I just see him beating Said Nurmagomedov. At +145, it's great value. Over 1.5 sitting at a -275. Over 2.5 sitting at a -145. I like the overs, but obviously take it with a grain of salt because you got two absolute skillful fighters against each other, in which I'm going with Vincus Oliveira to beat Said Nurmagomedov, and I think he gets it done via decision. I think that it's going to be a very tit-for-tat close fight back and forth, and Vincus Oliveira is going to get the better of him. And let's go ahead and run it to the next fight on this main card in Sergei Pavlovich versus Jair Rozenstruik. And I am going with Sergei Pavlovich, even though he's coming off of 2 losses, once to Alexander Volkov, the other one due to Tom Aspinall knocking him out. I think Sergei Pavlovich is my pick here. I think that he's going to come back, and I think he's going to deliver an absolute brutal finish right here. Yes, Rozenstruik is a good fighter. He's a very calm, calculated, patient striker. I just think that Sergei Pavlovich is going to be too much. You got Pavlovich with a 6-inch reach advantage. Insane reach advantage. Not only that, I think he's got the striking advantage. I think he's a lot better of a striker in the sense of his inside boxing is better. He's got quicker hands. He's got cleaner combinations. I think he's also more powerful than Rozenstruik as well. I think that he's going to maintain the distance, kind of strike from the outside, wait for Rozenstruik to make that wrong mistake in the sense of him being overzealous and leaving himself open for a counter shot, and Pavlovich finds that counter shot and knocks him out. Pavlovich also has decent grappling. I mean, he just went to war with Alexander Volkov, which Alexander Volkov absolutely dusted Rozenstruik, which obviously MMA masks don't work like that, but still, Sergei Pavlovich is one of the best of the best in this heavyweight division, and he's going to show it here again against Rozenstruik, to be completely honest. He's going to dominate. He's going to put on a pressure, put on a pace that Rozenstruik can't handle. He's going to find that hook shot and put Rozenstruik down on his back. Give me Sergei Pavlovich to beat Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik is a good fighter, but again, he's going to be too much. He had the win over Tai Tuivasa where he absolutely dominated him. This was not a split decision win. Absolutely dominated him. The win over Shamil Gaziev where he knocked him out. Then you have the loss to Jailton Almeida who submitted him. And I believe Pavlovich has good grappling and can definitely take this down to the ground if he needs to. Then you have the knockout over Chris Daukaus, which was relatively good win, to be completely honest. Then the loss over Alexander Volkov, where he got absolutely starched. And Sergei Pavlovich went 3 rounds with Alexander Volkov. I think that Pavlovich is going to show why he is one of the greatest heavyweights, and he's going to deliver an absolute brutal knockout over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And let's look at the odds here, in which Sergei Pavlovich sitting at a negative 325, Rozenstruik sitting at a plus 275. I like Sergei Pavlovich, and I like him via knockout. I think he gets rid of Rozenstruik, and I think he gets rid of him early, to be completely honest. Over 1.5 sitting at a plus 180. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 375. Let's look at Pavlovich via knockout, negative 265. It's likely to happen. The odds makers thinks it's going to happen, and I believe it's going to happen too. Give me Sergei Pavlovich to absolutely rock Rozenstruik and knock him out. And let's go ahead and move it right along to the co-main event of the evening in Shara Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page. And in this one, I am going with Michael Venom Page over Shara. Yes, this is going to be a surprise to many of you. I think Michael Venom Page can beat Shara Magomedov, to be completely honest. And the reason why I say that is because Shara was getting beat on the feet by Armen Petrosyan before he brutally knocked him out via double spinning back fist. It was an impressive knockout, don't get me wrong, but let's not forget what was happening moments before that. He was getting outstruck by Armen Petrosyan. He was. His head movement wasn't looking that great. He was getting hit. He wasn't able to really move around. He has good fight IQ. He has good timings in his reactions, yes. But there was a little bit of luck on his side on that one, and he caught him, yes. And there's no takeaway from that. I mean, a win's a win. But let's not forget that he was getting absolutely outstruck by Armen Petrosyan before that. And then now you have somebody in Michael Venom Page across from him who is super slick. His head movement is phenomenal. He's very mobile. I gotta go with Michael Venom Page. I think that he can pull this off. One worry I have, though, is Shara with his leg kicks. His leg kicks are super powerful. He could try and eat away at the base of Michael Venom Page because of how wide he stands. But I still think that Michael Venom Page will be able to fare well against Shara. I think we could even see Michael Venom Page possibly take this down to the ground. But I think his main win here is standing on the feet, maintaining that distance, keeping Shara at bay, and not letting him get in too close. Because I think Shara is better in close. I think Michael Venom Page is better with that distance, using his kicks, keeping that distance, and using his elusiveness to kind of keep away from Shara Magomedov. Because, like I said, Shara had a lot of problems with Armen Petrosyan in terms of striking. So I don't really see how he's going to do any better against somebody like Michael Venom Page, who is more elusive than Armen Petrosyan. Yes, he's coming up in weight class, but Michael Venom Page has fought in this weight class before. So let's not forget that. I am going with Michael Venom Page. I think he beats Shara Magomedov. He is coming off of the loss to Ian Machado Gary, where he showed that he can grapple with the best. And then you have the win over Kevin Holland, which Kevin Holland really hasn't been looking the greatest, to be completely honest. So take that one with a grain of salt. Then the leg kicks to Yamochi. I mean, dude, yes, Michael Venom Page is relatively unproven in the UFC, but he is a very, very good striker that is very elusive with his striking, very slick with his striking, and I believe that he's going to be able to get the better of Shara Magomedov. I think Shara is better in close in that kind of red zone area, but I think Michael Venom Page will be able to maintain that distance, kind of keep him at bay, and beat him via decision. And let's go ahead and look at the odds here, in which we have Shara Magomedov sitting at a negative 175, Michael Venom Page sitting at a plus 150. I agree with the odds, to be completely honest. You have Michael Venom Page, who is relatively unproven. Then you have Shara Bullet, who has been looking phenomenal. I mean, he beat Michael Olazechek. He's beat a lot of really highly skilled fighters, but they're not very elusive like Michael Venom Page is in terms of striking. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think we could possibly see Shara turn into a grappler and try and grapple with Michael Venom Page, but Michael Venom Page has really good grappling abilities in the sense of his takedown defense is relatively good, to be completely honest. He stops a lot of takedowns. He knows how to trip off of takedowns from his opponents. So I think Michael Venom Page has the skills to beat Shara Bullet, and I think he will. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 435, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 215. I think this hits the cards, and I think it's Michael Venom Page getting the better of Shara Bullet with his elusiveness. And let's go ahead and run it to the main event of the evening. If you guys haven't, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And if you guys haven't heard, I actually opened up the flock. So if you guys want to, you guys can go ahead and join the flock in the description. It's going to have access to the members only Discord, members only shorts, members only live streams. We're going to also do members only best UFC picks, also members only group bets where we all get into a call and come up with some bets and figure out why we picked who we picked for this week's bouts. So go ahead and join down below if you guys would like to, and make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump right back into the main event in Israel Adesanya versus Nassourdine Imavov. And I like this. This is an absolute banger here. And I am going with Nassourdine Imavov over Israel Adesanya. And the reason why is because I think that Nassourdine Imavov is hungrier. But Israel Adesanya is no bum, no slouch. I mean, yes, he's coming off of the 2 losses, one to Dricus du Plessis and the other to Sean Strickland, where he got absolutely exposed in that fight. Just looked awful, to be completely honest. He did not look himself one bit. And then you have the win over Alex Pereira, the loss to Alex Pereira, and the win over Jared Cannonier. Israel Adesanya hasn't been in a non-title fight since 2019. He has been up against the best of the best time and time again. And that is why I think that there is room for him to possibly win here. But I think Nassourdine, with his hungriness and how he's been looking lately, has been unstoppable, to be completely honest. Everybody has been like, oh, Nassourdine's striking looks absolutely amazing. What about his grappling? Put him up against Brendan Allen. Beat him. Had more control time than Brendan Allen. And had moments in the grappling department against Brendan Allen, honestly. So you gotta take that with a grain of salt, in the sense that, dude, Nassourdine is a very well-rounded fighter. He has great striking. He has knockout power. He mixes up his shots really well. He has good counter-striking abilities. He's very mobile on his feet. He's very elusive, kind of like Israel Adesanya. He's got very, very devastating knockout power. He's got good grappling to fall back on. This is an absolute superb matchup, to be completely honest. You have 2 well-rounded fighters, 2 of the best well-rounded fighters, let me put it that way, in the sense of both have great striking, both have great grappling that they normally don't use because they tend to like to stand up, to be completely honest. They like to strike on their feet, they like to be elusive, they like to bounce around, kind of poke, bam. So I got to go with Nassourdine Imavov. I think he's quicker. I think he's more explosive. I think he's going to have the speed advantage. I think that, yes, Israel Adesanya is a little bit more elusive with his head movement, to be completely honest, and a little bit slicker. I think that Nassourdine Imavov will be able to catch him. I think his counter-striking abilities are a lot better. And I think that Adesanya is in for another rude awakening and will get his 3rd L. And let's go ahead and look at the odds on this fight, in which Nassourdine Imavov sitting at a plus 135 and Israel Adesanya sitting at a negative 155. I like Nassourdine Imavov at plus 135. I think you're getting great value. I think striking-wise, I think that he's quicker. I think he's more explosive than Israel Adesanya. I think that grappling-wise, I think they're fairly even in terms of grappling. We saw Nassourdine use his grappling skills against Brendan Allen and look really, really well in terms of grappling, garnering a lot of controlled time. And I think that we could see Nassourdine, a hungry Nassourdine, beat Israel Adesanya, who just hasn't been looking the best, hasn't been looking himself, and is going to run into a hungry Nassourdine. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 700, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 400. Give me Nassourdine Imavov to beat Israel Adesanya, and I think it's going to be via decision. I think it's going to be a very close back-and-forth battle. I think there's going to be moments from both sides, but I think it's going to be Nassourdine Imavov. My only worry with Nassourdine is his cardio. As this fight goes on, I will say it's going to favor Adesanya. If Adesanya can put on a pace, then I believe that he could ultimately wear down on the gas tank of Nassourdine, and Nassourdine could start to slow down in the later of the rounds, like 4 or 5. But I think for the first 3 rounds, Nassourdine Imavov is perfectly fine, and I think that he will be able to fare well and get the better of Israel Adesanya. And if you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!